You picked up your phone for something. You don't even remember what anymore. And at some point, you looked up. The light in the room had changed, your coffee was cold, and you had this weird feeling, like you just returned from somewhere, but you couldn't tell where you'd been. Most people call that distraction. I used to call it that too. But that word doesn't really explain what's happening. Because if it were just distraction, you'd be able to stop. Here's what actually happens inside your head during those 2 hours. And I want to be clear about something before we get into it. This is not a video about putting your phone down. That advice exists. It doesn't work. And I think you already know that. What I want to show you is something underneath the behavior. A pattern that's been running in the background, probably for years, that nobody's ever really explained to you properly. Once you see it, you can't unsee it, and that matters more than any app blocking trick ever will. So what's going on? There's a system in your brain that evolved to keep you alive. Not happy, not productive, alive. Its job is to point your attention toward anything that might matter. A sound in the dark, a face that looks different, something moving at the edge of your vision. It works through a chemical signal, dopamine. But here's where everyone gets it wrong. Dopamine is not the pleasure chemical. It's the anticipation chemical. It fires before the reward, not during, not after. Before. It's the feeling that something might be worth your attention. In your phone, every single feed, every notification, every autoplay is engineered around exactly that feeling. Not big rewards, small ones, unpredictable ones. A slot machine doesn't pay out every time. That's the point. The uncertainty is what keeps you pulling, and every time you scroll, your brain is pulling the lever. Not because you chose to, because it was designed to make that feel automatic. Now here's the part that took me a long time to understand. This isn't the same for everyone. Some people get pulled in harder. Some people notice it more. Some people carry real shame about it, like something is broken in the way their mind works. If that's you, I want to sit with that for a second. Because that interpretation, the something is wrong with me story, that one does real damage. And it's also not accurate. Your brain didn't malfunction. It adapted. Adaptation isn't failure. It's what brains do. Over time, your nervous system learns something very quiet and very specific, that effort is uncertain, but stimulation is always available. And when given a choice between uncertain and certain, your brain every time will lean toward what it knows it can get. That's not weakness. That's just how learning works. The problem isn't you. The problem is that you've been trained, consistently, repeatedly, to expect that the easier door always has something behind it. I need to say something that might not be easy to hear. The environment you're in right now is not neutral. It has a goal, and that goal is your attention. Not your well-being, not your focus, not your time. Your attention. Full stop. And most of the time, we don't frame it that way. We say we wasted time, like it was our fault for not being more disciplined. But you don't blame yourself for being cold outside. You were just standing in a cold place. That moment when you looked up and the room felt different, that happened because you were in a cold place and nobody told you to put on a coat. I'm not going to give you a 5-step system. You've seen those. They haven't fixed this. What actually changes this, slowly, quietly over time, is something much less dramatic. It's awareness, not the motivational poster kind, the kind where you catch yourself mid-loop and instead of beating yourself up about it, you just notice. Oh, there it is again. That pause, even a 1-second pause, interrupts the automation. Not forever, not completely, but enough. Because your brain is still plastic, still learning, still capable of adapting in the opposite direction, toward depth, toward stillness, toward things that take longer to pay off but feel more real when they do. The urge doesn't disappear, but it gets quieter, because you stop feeding it constantly. And in that quiet, you start to remember what it felt like to actually be somewhere, not scrolling through somewhere.
actually there. There's nothing wrong with you for getting pulled into those loops. I mean that. Given the environment, given the patterns, given the way this stuff was designed, it would be strange if you didn't get pulled in. But you noticed something today, and noticing is the first thing that changes. If this felt familiar, there's a specific pattern underneath this one that I haven't talked about yet. It's subtler. It shows up in how you think, not just how you scroll. And once you see it, the attention piece starts to make even more sense. That's the next video.